ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. This is the show where I take a look at every classic Doctor Who story, plus a bunch of big finish audio dramas, one episode a day, 7 days a week. And today, on the 27th of July, 2019, we're starting to look at the third story of the 17th season of Doctor Who, The Creature from the Pit. Now, starting with part 1, which is the third story to be written, at least credited and written, to be written by David Fisher, who technically had the idea for City of Death. It had some of the ideas behind it, even if he didn't actually write all of City of Death. Now, what's important to know about the creature from the pit in part 1, the first thing that comes out at you is really David Brierley as K9. David Brierley is very few people are, we'll even say, we'll disagree that David Brierley he isn't quite as fun as K9. He's sort of doing this in this monotone, and it almost feels like he's kind of trying to impersonate John Leeson, but he's not really impersonating John Leeson. This isn't a good sort of performance. It's just really bland and really dull. Nothing against Brierley as an actor. He's, perfectly fine. He also just comes across almost as a bit more whiny. There's this point where some characters blow K9's whistle to get him to come out, unintentionally, because Romana gets captured by these, I guess they're savages? I really don't know. It's not, a lot of the story isn't really well explained, but you have, these characters that are, savages / scavengers looking for metal. The Doctor and Romana land on this planet called Chloris, in a quote-unquote place of death, which is basically anyone here will die. There's some really good gags. I will be honest. The humor here is great. This is, once again, you can feel. It doesn't quite feel like Douglas Adams' fingerprints, but it also feels like something that Fisher could have come up with, and their styles really do complement each other quite nicely. They do a good job together. When it comes to writing humor and getting the story, the humor of this story down. Here's the thing. Also, in part 1, being as brutally honest, very little actually happens. You get, you basically get, the characters, living. You get the Doctor. It's a lot of the Doctor and Romana get captured, and then get set free, then escape, then get captured again, then escape, until we climb to the end where the Doctor jumps down a pit, the titular pit, which is our cliffhanger. And he jumps down after this guy being thrown in the pit for this engineer who wasn't as intelligent, didn't come to the conclusion that this giant eggshell was a giant eggshell. The scientists here, you have this crazy lady Adrasta, who is the ruler of the planet, and she's absolutely, and she's all right, well, I'm killing you for reasons, and I'll find Romana for you. And there's big cliffhangers also. Doctor, I have K9 with me. K9 shoots these wolfweeds, which are these giant plants. This is a story that it doesn't, as a story, it doesn't really work to finish things. It's here's, we don't really even know what's going on. It's this crazy, you have Lady Adrasta, who is crazy, and that is her characterization. She's not like a sane person, and she's not even a you know, this is one of those. It's one of the stories that really doesn't. It doesn't finish. It just sort of, it's like it doesn't finish very well, and it's built up around these characters that aren't very interesting. It's a story that it you have this pit and this planet where there is no metal. Metal is metal is something that is very, very rare. Basically trying to build us a story without any sort of intrigue. We don't get much of an explanation here. We don't get much of anything, really. It's just like, oh, you need metal. Adrasta is evil. The Doctor gets thrown down a pit. Romana is perhaps the weakest link because Lalla Ward, this was her first story recorded, and you can tell because, well, she's basically playing it like Mary Tam, which I don't even think is her fault. It feels like this is written as a this isn't this is one that, like, it was written before Lalla Ward was signed on, but she's just playing Mary Tam's Romana, and just even look isn't dressed like Mary Tam's Romana. It's dull. Overall, the episode's good. It's enjoyable, but it's really just an okay start. So overall, I'm going to give The Creature from the Pit, Part 1, a 6 out of 10. It is the 28th of July 2019, and I just finished watching Part 2 of The Creature from the Pit. Oh boy, this one is let's Part 2. I don't monetize these videos. I don't. This might get me taken down. We see the titular creature for the first time, and it's there's no way to nicely put this. It's a giant cock. That is, my God. It is a penis. There is. I knew this was coming, but you sort of, it has this effect on you that you're like, it can't be. No, this isn't my memory playing tricks. No, your memory doesn't play tricks on you. It's a giant green penis, that even wiggles, and it's this. You question throughout the entire episode, how the hell did they think that was gonna fly? Also, it's kind of fairly obvious. Like apparently they didn't have time to finish the prop or redesign the prop. They wanted to redesign the prop apparently, but they didn't. Which makes it all the more baffling that we got a story. We got this monster, but oh no, something like Shada was not finished because, there was a strike. But yes. Creature from the Pit Part 2. People hate the Tibet teaches all Tibetan gag. That's funny. Tom Baker hasn't gone completely off the rails in this story yet. He's getting close. He's getting closer to just going off the rails and presenting him with a villain that is what it is. Do you really want to blame him? Because I don't think anyone, no one could make act against that thing and come out of it well. It's really, really quite sad. that the doctor and the really, so the doctor in this episode, he spends most of the episode down in the pit. Also, there's David Fisher has some decent stuff here. He really does, but the monster is just hard. Makes hard to look at, and I don't think I'm going to get out of this review with any dignity intact. My God, why did I gotta take this reviewing thing? Because this is a big oof. Just it's not something that you're like, yeah, this is great. So you have at least some decent stuff. Tom Baker, and he gets this Oberon, I don't know his name, character played by Jeffrey Belden, who is, comedic, but is a lot of fun. It's one of those, really good little, it's a good story. Really good little sort of story dynamic between the two. You have this astrologer who, it's weird. Doctor Who, whenever they like to bring in an astrologer, they either trash them completely or be like, no, they for whatever reason tell a correct future. Though it is slightly implied that it's vague enough, like the correct future. You will meet someone from beyond the stars. That's the future that Adrasta was told that got him locked in the pit. It's like, well, what kind of someone? I don't know that. I don't see that. You get just the the general weirdness, and then there's the stuff with Adrasta and Romana for the entire episode, and K9, where K9 gets basically destroyed, but also not destroyed. There's a point where K9 is like, at the point of he gets basically the Romana uses him to try to escape. Once again, David Brierly doesn't show that he's great as K9. He does a lot of this in the monotone, kind of very different than a John Leeson performance, where John Leeson has fun with the lines and is, yes, sort of not quite a ham, but he's very much like, a little less matter of fact in places, and really is giving it his all and really having a lot of fun. David Brierly is just sort of affirmative. Yes, this he doesn't quite give it's just not that solid of a performance. Like the character of K9 could have been executed so much better. You have this nice bit where it's like, yes, we can get into the pit, sort of showing that there is something that David Fisher tries to do that's clever and works very well, mainly by having a story where you really get you really do get the solid, a real solid beat for beat story. Though the fun part about it is, there's some fun. Like, you get the idea that there isn't quite so much going in here. There's something more going on. Adrasta, the Lady Adrasta, sort of knows what's going on. you sort of get this idea that there's something more to the pit than what meets the eye. But overall, honestly, Christopher Barry tries. The director, he tries. He's an amazing director. He's directed some great stories. He's been directing since The Daleks, way back in 1963. He directed The Rescue and the Romans, which I love both stories. He directed The Demons. This is just okay, and they could turn it around if they try to, like, get rid of some of the creature and limit it, but I doubt they'll do that. So, Creature from the Pit Part 2 gets a 5 out of 10. Alright, it is the 28th of July, 2019, and I just finished watching Part 3 of The Creature from the Pit. AKA the weakest episode yet, because, well, The doctor gives the creature a blowjob. That is the thing that happens in this episode of Doctor Who, in his attempts to communicate with it. This is an episode. Everything goes off the rails, it seems. After like 5 minutes, I've made a descent into insanity. Just, yeah, no, there's only so much you can really talk about. It's one of those stories where you have for whatever reason you had these characters who were they're these, they're these savages, and they've been smuggling. I guess it's good to describe them as smuggling metal. They find this giant thing on the wall, which has been pointed out a couple of times, is sort of like, oh, don't think about that. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's a giant thing. And we basically have the story. We have the story take the you have the story take this sort of turn. Like, it's basically, let's rescue the doctor because he gets trapped in with the creature for 25 minutes, and then when they rescue the doctor, they send K9 in. There's this, let's try to escape with K9 that fails. So it's like, right, that failed. So let's just have, I guess it's like, okay, that failed. So what are we gonna do? We need a cliffhanger, right? The savages people who have made absolutely no real no real sort of character. They're just like, we want metal because metal is rare. There's also a scene that directly parodies a scene from the Pirate Planet. It's like they give this thing and give it to the creature, and the creature comes forward and attacks Adrasta because having the villain gets attacked, because that makes sense. There's so much here that makes absolutely zero sense. It's a lot of it's the Doctor monologuing. The Doctor gives the creature a motherfucking blowjob. Excuse my language. But this is just a story. Like, apparently, no, that wasn't cut. No, what apparently was cut was some violence. Yeah, violence. No, too bad. But no, the Doctor pleasuring an alien in an attempt to quote-unquote communicate. That's perfectly okay for a story for children. This isn't something that normally happens. Like I'm speechless. This isn't a good episode. I can see why Christopher Barry left the show and didn't come back. I think until the spin-off Downtime. I think he did Downtime, maybe. Like he directed Downtime in the 90s, possibly. I'm not entirely sure on that count. But yeah, this isn't one of those. It's not. It's not one of those ones where you really get a good sense. You know, it's just it's it's a story. It exists. I don't know how else I can describe this one. It's a story that exists. I'm giving part 3 a 3 out of 10. No. It is the 29th of July 2019, and I just finished watching part 4 of The Creature from the Pit, the conclusion. Yeah, it's not thrilling. It's about as good as part 3, mainly because 5 minutes into the episode, everything is solved, and essentially the last 15-20 minutes is a second plot that David Fisher kind of just pulls from nowhere. Like, the idea is that the ambassador, the creature from the pit is the Tythonian ambassador who speaks with other people's larynxes, coming to build a trade deal. And Adrasta wanted to not have the trade deal happen so she could stay in power, I guess? You know, it's one of those it's one of those weird stories where you're just like, okay, what was the point? Like, what was you know, what was the point of having this story? Like, if you a fourth episode, if you're trying to do something completely different, like, yeah, it's kind of like if they did, like, the Ambassadors of Death in 4 episodes, but the Ambassadors of Death is really, was really the story, the where you really, you really don't get the sense of here's what the story did. It's like, oh, there was this trade agreement and it never happened, but oh, now it's going to happen. But oh no, the Tythonians are using a neutron star to blow up the planet, so the Doctor uses a Ratu, who creates a spaceship. Yeah, no, seriously, he creates a spaceship and blows it up. This is just outlandish. It's one of those. It's so outlandish that you really just you don't, but it's not even like good. outlandish, at least with something's good, it's it can be, when something's outlandish and good, it's enjoyable and fun and giving you a story that you really really like. It's just, this one is just like dull, really really dull. It's it it's one of those stories where you don't get a good conclusion. Romana is playing Adrasta gets killed like 5 minutes in. There really shouldn't be this much. You could easily get it down to 3 episodes, call it a day, because the doctor then the doctor and Romana and K9 who is again very dull, very 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 dull. Like David Byerly does not do a good job at it. It's sort of a weird story where it's like, here's where it ends. It just sort of stops, and this is not a good episode. It's just, no. It you had a potential there, but you squandered it. So, you could have potentially, the story fell apart in part 3 as soon as Tom Baker's lips went on to the protruding limb of Arato. That's and there's some decent stuff here. Comedy is good. Jeffrey Belden is the one thing keeping me alive. Even Tom Baker is just, he's incredibly wacky, and I think almost not taking the script seriously by this point. And I guess you could say, Christopher Barry did a good job directing, but he always does a good job directing. So overall, I'm going to give The Creature from the Pit Part 4 a 3 out of 10. That being said, we add up the scores and average them out to give The Creature from the Pit a final score of 4.25 out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching this installment of the Ultimate Doctor Who Marathon. As always, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I do love reading the comments and hearing from you. And please join me next time when we start a look at the first of 3 Fourth Doctor novel adaptations written originally by Gareth Roberts in The Romance of Crime.